What's going on, everybody? Gonna do a little whiskey in the word today. My wife is on the way home. We're getting ready to record some videos, so I gotta warm the palate up a little bit. This is for our whiskey YouTube channel, so I'm gonna pour a little Cooper's Craft Barrel Reserve and talk a little Luke 18 today. So this stuff's pretty good, 100 proof, fairly inexpensive, 35 bucks, high quality. We'll talk a little bit more about that here in a minute. But yeah, very good, very fruity sweet. They char the barrel and then like chisel it so that it gets more interaction with the wood, the whiskey as it's aging. So really good stuff. It's a Brown-Forman product. Brown-Forman owns places like Jack Daniels, Woodford Reserve, Old Forester. They all kind of have a similar flavor profile in those distilleries. So if you like one of them, it's high likelihood that you'll like some of the other things that they have. But like I said, the last video, I had a little less time in that one, but been real busy. Been working a ton. Been trying to stay on top of communications. Had a really fun daddy-daughter trip. My daughter and I took the Cayman. We went out to East Tennessee, rode down Tail of the Dragon, Back of the Dragon, Cherahela Skyway, Foothills Parkway, some of these really famous roads, and it was a really, really good time. So I am now registered. Her and I are heading out in June again to go to the Rennsport Dragon Rally, which is the biggest Porsche driving meetup in the country. That's going to be really, really fun, really cool. One of the reasons we even got that car was to make memories and do fun things, have a good excuse to do some fun things. So that's what we're doing with it, and feel very blessed to be in that position. Just hard work, lots of hard work at UPS, lots of long days, but you gotta work, and you also have to enjoy life. So trying to find that balance always. But there's another thing I want to talk about, and I want to talk about balance more going forward, and also want to talk about the seasons of life. Like, we're in a really good season of life right now, but seasons of life, they come and go, and we'll talk a little bit more about that maybe in the next one. It's been something that's really been on my mind since Christmas, if I'm being honest, just because I've noticed that the season that I thought we were in, it kind of shifted over the last couple of years, and I wasn't even aware of it shifting when it happened. But next time. This time, I want to talk about Luke 18, verses 9 through 14. So, fairly short passage here. It's a parable that Jesus is telling about two men who were praying. So with that said, I'm going to take a little sip. Wow, been a minute since I've revisited this. Very, very fruity. First sip of the day, so it's got a little impact at 100 proof, but not too much. Yeah, really nice. I mean, a lot of things that are 35 bucks, you don't get a lot of age in bourbon. So the extra work they do on the barrel with the, what do they call it? Charring, chiseled and charred. That extra work that they do on the barrel, you get a little bit more barrel impact in the pour. So you got this kind of fruity, sweet, younger bourbon taste in there, but then you also get this barrel impact that you're not used to. So it makes it a nice sipper. One more sip. I always do 2 really small sips when it comes to whiskey, and small sips in general, because I don't like to drink a lot. I don't like to be drunk. Just like to take it easy, enjoy the flavor, and the little sips, you get more of the flavor and less of the burn. Little pro tip for you guys out there. You got to drink it like it's hot coffee, just a little sip. But all right, let's get to Luke 18, verses 9. This is, the heading here is Jesus tells the parable of two men who prayed. We went over this in church months back, and it stuck out to me so much so that I put my bookmark in here, and I wanted to bring it up on one of these videos. I'm just now being able to get around to it. But verse 9, to some who were confident of their own righteousness and looked down on everyone else, Jesus told this parable. Confident of their own righteousness and look down on everyone else. Who does that sound like? Who does that sound like these days? Verse 10. 2 men went up to the temple to pray, one a Pharisee and the other a tax collector. Context real quick. Pharisees were kind of the religious, pious, kind of who who Jesus is talking about here, the holier than thou type of crowd that viewed themselves as better than other people. And the other a tax collector. And nobody likes paying taxes these days, but back in the day, tax collectors were considered to be thieves, and essentially just a rung on the ladder above thieves, considered to be dishonest, considered to be some of the scum of society. People hated tax collectors. So you got a Pharisee and a tax collector, both at the temple to pray. Verse 11, the Pharisee stood by himself and prayed, God, I thank you that I am not like other people, robbers, evildoers, adulterers, or even like this tax collector. I fast twice a week and give a tenth of all I get. Totally missing the point. Thank you, God, that I'm not like other people. I'm not like these people. Verse 13. But the tax collector stood at a distance. He would not even look up to heaven, but beat his breast and said, God, have mercy on me, a sinner. I tell you that this man, rather than the other, and this is Jesus' words now, talking about the tax collector who beat his chest, saying, God, have mercy on me, a sinner. Jesus says in verse 14, I tell you that this man, rather than the other, the Pharisee, went home justified before God. For all those who exalt themselves will be humbled, and those who humble themselves will be exalted. And this passage actually, it made me emotional when we were covering it in church, and it's making me emotional now. How many times do we look to God and say, God, have mercy on me, a sinner? And how many times do we try to, maybe most people don't think it. I don't think most people are sociopathic like that to think that they're better than everyone else. But how often do we try to behave that way? How often do we try to live into this standard of trying to be better than everyone else? And I'm not saying, as I said last week, like, it's not saying that the forgiveness and the grace of God is a free pass to act however we want. We should let that love and that grace from God to us change our hearts, and through changing our hearts, it will change our behavior. But there's so many times where I'm just trying to do the best I can do and white knuckle life sometimes, that I don't just stop and say, God, have mercy on me, a sinner. And I think that is such a powerful display. And then Jesus himself says that man that confessed that went home justified before God. And that those who exalt themselves will be humbled, but those who humble themselves will be exalted. So the humility to humble ourselves, and I've been getting into, if you're interested in anything I have to say here, I'd recommend just typing in YouTube. If you're watching this, type in Timothy Keller and watch any of his sermons. I've been getting into his stuff a lot more lately. I've heard about him for years, heard a little here and there, but I've really been digging into his stuff lately. And he does such a good job of communicating the gift of grace and how we're unable to bridge that gap to God. And only through Jesus are we able to do that. So it's just really profound, really powerful stuff. And I think this really highlights it. So going forward this week, I just encourage you, take a step back, have a little humility, and thank God for his mercy for us, all sinners. We all sin and fall short of the glory of God. And that's okay. God is there to bridge the gap, and he loves us enough to do that. And Jesus loved us enough to come and give his life for our mistakes so that we wouldn't have to pay the price that he paid. That is a beautiful, wonderful thing. I can't think of anything better than that. So yeah, just really, really been soaking in grace the last few months, and also been soaking in the idea of the seasons of life changing. So we'll talk more about that next week. Till then, have a great week. God bless. Cheers.